Hey guys, Alex Magar here, owner and creator of the Transform Nutrition app. Coming to you today with your intro video for the keto diet, okay? This is the last of our instructional videos, and it's going to be a good one because I think this is one of the more complex, but definitely one of the more beneficial diets that we've customized into a challenge plan for you guys. So let's go ahead and start talking about the keto diet, and as always, let us know, send us messages. Give us a call, emails, whatever, if you have any questions about how this challenge is run or what the typical keto diet is like. Okay, so give me a second. I'm going to share my screen and show you our lesson plan. Okay, guys, so remember, this lesson plan is always going to be in the app along with this video. So it's really nice to have this video so that I could explain it and walk you through it, but you have this to go back at your own leisure and kind of read it and make sure you understand everything. Okay? So let's go ahead and get going with it. So the main thought behind keto, what is keto first of all? The main thought behind keto is that it is more optimal to replace carbs with fats as your main source of energy. So in other videos, we describe the relationship of fats compared to carbs and what they do in the body. As a recap to that, we like to explain that good natural fats do not create fat deposits in the body, okay? It's a source of energy, just like carbs are. Unlike carbs, though, when fats are a primary role or source of energy, they don't play a role in production of insulin. So more and less carbs you eat, your insulin level is going to spike and lower and create different levels of blood sugar in the bloodstream, which will cause a whole host of problems down the road. Fats don't play that role, okay? So when one's main source of energy is through good unsaturated fats, and we'll get more into the types of fats here in a moment, your body is going to create what is called ketones, okay? Being in this physiological state is called ketosis, okay? And that's the whole backbone behind the keto diet, okay? Ketones are produced by the liver when we have a high fat intake and a low carb intake. And it's basically just broken down by the mitochondria in the body in a much more efficient way than your carbs will. Okay. So when you're first starting out with keto, I think the thing that people have the most trouble with is getting enough fats into your system to get into and stay in ketosis. Right. You have to eat a lot of it, and you have to eat a certain ratio of those fats compared to protein and carbs. People aren't used to eating this high amount of fats, and you don't see a lot of it in our daily regular diet. So you got to do a little bit of hunting and figuring out how to do this well, okay? So talking about keto, when you are in ketosis, not only does your body burn the fat that you eat, but it also burns the fat storages that you have built up over a lifetime of eating sugars and carbs, okay? And it's no question about it. In our society today, we are morbidly obese because of our love affair with carbs and sugars, okay? So we're going to start doing away with that via the keto diet. More importantly, I just hinted on that, you're taking yourself out of a food environment that can foster these long-term diseases such as heart disease, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, hypertension, all of this type of stuff that stems from lots of carb intake and thus highs and lows in insulin. So how does one get into ketosis? Burning fat will help me be fitter and healthier, right? Okay, the easiest way we can manage this diet is keep track of our macros, okay? We learned a little bit about this. If you've watched that video, you could go ahead and take a look at it at the Macro Pro Challenge video. All right, we learned what macros are. We're looking at food at a very high level, right? So it's only broken down between protein, carbs, and fats, okay? So to get enough fats and to get into ketosis and stay in ketosis, your fat intake is going to have to be somewhere around 60 to 80%, all right? That is a lot, all right? You're going to be struggling to find it, and we're going to help you figure it out. With that, your carbohydrates should only be between 5 and 15%. So that's drastically lower than the typical American diet. Even if you're looking at something like our macro challenge, where your carb intake is going to be a lot higher than that. And then your protein is going to be about 15 to 30% of your caloric intake. So what are these fats that I'm talking about? There's good fats and there's bad fats. Some of your bad fats are your hydrogenated, your trans fats, and your good fats are going to be your unsaturated fats. So saturated fats are in a lot of meats and cheeses, and that's good for you. It's not bad per se, but it could turn into a situation where you're depending on that as your sole source of fat, all right? It's an abundant type of fat. It's seen everywhere. Meats are very easy for you to get and eat. So if you're depending on your fats just from meats, you're probably going about it the wrong way, okay? Unsaturated fats can help in lowering cholesterol levels and hence reduce the risk of heart attack or heart disease. This is one of the main chronic diseases that we're going through because of our carb love affair, all right? Diving a little farther into what these good unsaturated fats are, you can divide them into two main categories. It's polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. Poly is your omega-3s and your omega-6s. You want to get more omega-3s than your omega-6s. And monounsaturated fats are typically what's going to be the mainstay of your diet while you're on keto. All right, these are things like your olive oils, your avocados, a lot of nuts, such as your almonds. Very good high-fat intake with those. We can also break down fats into how long their chains of carbon are, all right? And this is getting a little geeky here, so I'm not going to get too far into it. We have short-chain fats, medium-chain fats, and long-chain fats. Strive to eat medium-chain fats, MCTs. When you eat this type of fat, it's absorbed rapidly in the body and turned into fuel for energy. Thus, there's no fat storages being created, okay? These MCTs also give you a higher abundance of energy. So they're all around really great. Try to stick with those and do a little bit more research into them when you're trying to figure out which fats to eat. There's also an MCT oil that's found on the market that you could buy. It's not too expensive. A bottle could be about 20 bucks or so. And they're really great because it gives you a huge amount of energy. It helps get you in ketosis and stay there as well too. Okay, so here's a bunch of pictures. Saturated fats versus unsaturated fats. You can eat saturated fats, but really try to concentrate on those unsaturated fats, your avocados, olive oils. A lot of it is found in cold water fish like salmon and whatnot. Do not eat hydrogenated fats, okay? These are your highly processed fats, your margarine, your vegetable shortening. It's processed by putting hydrogen into oils such as vegetable oils. Stay away from it, guys. You know, those fried foods with the vegetable oils, very bad for you. Just stay away from it. Same thing with your trans fats. These are typically your baked goods, all of your fried foods, anything with processed sugar in it, let's stay away from it, okay? So you can see in this little fat pyramid, our monounsaturated fats is what we want to get the most of. After that, it's probably going to be your polyunsaturated fats, and you want to stay away from your saturated fats to a huge degree and cut out trans and hydrogenated fats, okay? Eat a lot of monounsaturated fats. Whoops. Okay, so what are the restrictions on keto? How am I going to get my points when I download the Transform app and I start this challenge thing, okay? So the biggest thing to do when you are eating keto is to stay within the macro ranges, okay? If you're thinking of your total daily caloric intake of no matter what you're eating, 15 to 30% should be protein, 5 to 15% should be carbs, and fat should be around 60 to 80% of your total caloric intake, okay? That's a very big difference from the typical American diet. You have to watch out here. If you eat too much protein, which a lot of people fall into that trap of doing in keto, they're saying, well, I'm eating all good foods. It's unprocessed. It's natural. But if you're not getting enough fat and you're getting too much protein, you're not going to get into that ketosis, that area where we want to be, where we're primarily burning fat for fuel. Okay. So if you don't have blocks, so what we're doing here, we're primarily concerned with staying in that macro range. We don't really care about how much you are eating, okay? So it says here you could eat a little bit less than the caloric output, and you're going to be in a deficit. You could try to eat the same amount of calories that you're outputting, and you're going to be pretty much in equilibrium, and you're not going to lose typically as much weight. You can even try to mass up or gain weight while eating keto, but you are definitely going to be eating a lot there. So probably easier for that in a little bit other ways. So if you're familiar with Zone at all, if I don't have blocks, how do I know if I'm staying in my appropriate keto macro range? Well, I suggest planning it out so that every meal or snack that you eat, it stays within this range of protein, carbs, and fats, okay? You might only be eating 100 calories at a time per snack or meal or whatever, but as long as you eat somewhere around 20% protein, 10% carbs, and 70% good fats, boom, you're going to get in ketosis, okay? So everything that you eat, just try to keep it in that range, that macro range, and it doesn't really matter how much of it is, okay? So real quick note here, when you're using our app, to calculate your optimal macro calculations, that is for your Zone diet only, our Macro Pro Challenge. All right, so if you use that daily block tracker, you're not going to be in this keto-specific range, okay? You're not going to be getting anywhere near enough fats. You're going to be getting too much protein, too much carbs, and you're not going to get into ketosis. So that daily macro block counter that's on your homepage, don't use it when you're in the keto group. We're actually working on updating our app so that you will have a macro block counter for the keto diet. Eventually, hopefully we'll have that soon for you. It's a little bit complicated though. Okay, some more restrictions on keto, and this is pretty typical of some other clean eating diets like our General Health and Wellness program, Paleo. It's a lot like that. So no trans fats, all right? This is basically saying the same thing as no processed sugars or starches. We don't want cakes, pies, cookies, breads, anything with processed sugars, all right? Another big thing that a lot of people overlook is condiments, all right? Condiments are loaded with sugars. So a lot of these dressings are not going to be good for you. You're getting too much carbs in it, and it's going to kick you out of ketosis, all right? Same thing with milk. A lot of added sugars into it. Cashews, really high carbohydrate intake, same thing with potatoes, white potatoes. So stay away from them. Stay away from any highly processed wheats like pastas and things like that as well too. So just like paleo, alcohol technically is not a keto happy element, okay? So I know this could be a game breaker, but try to stay away from beer only. That's going to definitely kick you out of ketosis. So every once in a while, as we're socializing, if you want wine or spirits, okay, cool. But really, the only thing that we should be eating is basically just water and tea. All right, coffee is okay, but make sure you stay away from those creams and sugars. Okay. Make sure you eat at least 2 to 3 servings of fish per week. Okay. All right. You can see that other than the macro ratios for high fat intake, this diet is very similar to paleo or our whole clean eating challenges. Okay, so you can look at those restrictions as well. Everything that's on those also holds true for keto. Okay, so here's just a little diagram to show you our intake ratios that we need to stay in to be in ketosis. Okay, as a percent of your total daily caloric intake, stay within these ranges and you will do well with keto, okay? Somewhere with 15 to 30% of protein, somewhere around 5 to 15% of your carbs. The lower, typically the better, but you're gonna have to get more fats the lower you go in your carbs, okay? And 60 to 80% for your fats, okay? So that's it for keto, guys. It's really as simple as that. It's staying within these macro ranges. It doesn't matter how much you eat or how little you eat, only as long as you stay within these ranges. Okay, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point. So leading up to the challenge, there's a few things that you can do to make this much easier for yourself. First of all, make sure you consult with your doctor. You are drastically changing a typical diet when you go onto keto, all right? You are changing your carb intake drastically and you're changing your fat intake drastically. So make sure you're in a healthy enough state to start this. And if you have any issues, if you're getting dizzy, you're not getting enough fats, but still, please just stop the diet, consult your doctor, and when it's known that it's okay to start it again, we could do that. Okay, so cutting carbs like that is really hard, guys. What I suggest is easing yourself into it, all right? Stop that carb intake maybe by a few weeks before the challenge starts. Your first week, cut your carbs in half by maybe a quarter of your regular intake, all right? The next week, cut it another quarter. So you're already 50% down at that time. And then that's easing you into a situation where you could jump into 5 to 10% carbs when the diet starts, okay? You don't want to just jump into it right away. And like we talked about, a good way to start doing diets like this is just cut out no condiments or dressings for maybe a week, and then cut down your carbs more so and more so. It's very highly processed and sugar-filled stuff, so stay away from it. Even before you start the challenge, gather a taste for these high-fat content items that you're going to need to concentrate on, okay? Coconut oil, huge. A huge source of those medium-chain triglycerides. Good fats, that's going to keep you in ketosis, all right? Eat a lot of olive oil, a lot of fish, a lot of avocados, a lot of nuts. We're talking about MCT now. Think about getting an MCT oil supplement. I mentioned it before. So there's some side effects when you first start out, maybe for a week or two. If you take too much, you'll tend to get cramping and a little bit of diarrhea, okay? So watch out for that. Ease yourself into it just like anything else. Take maybe just a spoonful per day, and then after a week, take 2 spoonfuls per day. But it's something you could add into dressings that really work well, that really up your fat intake. Okay, so when you're using this challenge in the app, it's pretty typical of any other challenge, all right? You get 5 base points for holding to keto restrictions every day, okay? That's not eating processed foods, not eating sugars, eating enough fats, okay? You've got to get into that 60 to 80% fat range. If you're out of that, you can't claim your 5 base points for the day, okay? And again, I already mentioned it, don't use that daily macro blocks button while using the keto group. It's a different calculation than what you need for keto. So all your other single points, so in this example up on the screen, consume at least 65% of body weight in ounces of water. That's an optional point parameter that the creator of the group decided to add for you guys, all right? Really try to work on those to up your points and stay competitive. Okay. So meal prep, just like any other diet, meal prep is huge, guys, all right? You can't just, on a whim, say, all right, I'm going to do keto today, all right? You have to have it prepared. You have to make big meals and break it up into smaller meals and put it in Tupperware. Pick a day. Sundays are usually the best. You don't have as much stuff going on, and you typically have a little bit more time. So that will prepare your keto-friendly meals for the week for you, okay? One option that you could do is invest in a ketone meter, all right? It's kind of like a blood glucose meter. It's just testing your blood. It's going to see how many ketones are in it, and that's going to tell you if you're eating enough fats or not, all right? Sometimes it can be hard to tell if you're sticking within that that keto macro range, okay? This will tell you if you're not in ketosis, you're going to need to eat more fats, all right? Remember, keto is a very hard and unique diet. You're basically changing the entire way you eat. We suggest that you contact and consult a doctor before going into this, okay? So, as always, you'll kind of want to stay away from high glycemic foods. Even if they are keto-friendly, you don't want to eat them. So things like guava or mango, high glycemic, but it's a fruit, it is going to have a lot of carbs and sugars in it, something like that, but you could eat it. Don't eat a lot of them. Stay within that range. Stay out of those high glycemic foods, and you're going to do really well, guys. Okay, so that is our keto diet. Let me know if you have any questions. Go ahead and get started. Jump into the app, play around with it, get familiar with it. And this is a great diet, guys. It's super fun, it's super different, and you're going to see great results, all right? Getting your energy sources from fats is such a more efficient way than breaking down carbs into glucose and dealing with spikes in insulin. All right, this is healthier for you. It's going to cut down on those long-term chronic diseases that we see. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Cheers, and good luck with the diets, okay?